All right, welcome back to another episode of Fast Break Live NBA podcast. It's your boy Samuel here. I am back featuring my boy Ryan, aka Sway, reporting live. Say what's up to the people.
What's up? Back in here. How you doing, my boy?
I'm doing well. My Knicks caught that dub the other night, so
Yes,
you know I'm feeling swell. So, we had to talk playoff hoops. Last week we gave our play in talk discussion, whatever it was, and then we kind of gave our predictions on the playoff matchups that we thought were gonna happen, especially with the playing matchups that weren't fully decided yet.
Indeed.
We'll get into that a little bit later, but let's talk some playoff hoops.
Yes, sir. I'm ready.
So let's start off with probably one of the probably the most entertaining series of the first round so far. Knicks versus Hawks.
No doubt.
I feel like these two teams, they're pretty evenly matched. So far, at least. So far, we also haven't seen the best of one Julius Randle or an RJ Barrett, and I feel like once those two start to put things together, the Hawks may be in trouble because the Hawks, they have a lot of people on their side that's food on defense. Like, just to put it plain as that.
Bogdanovich, of course. Trae Young is the main defensive liability. But I'm not gonna lie. I forgot who said this. It's probably Max on First Take, but I never thought of this. I don't know why I didn't, because my favorite player did it. But what the Knicks have to do the rest of this series, is put Trae Young in pick and roll action all the time.
That's what everyone on Knicks Twitter, that's what everyone has been saying for the longest. Like, just exploit Trae and your money. And they started to do that a little bit the other day, yesterday. Cause there was a point where Trae was on Reggie Bullock, and they just basically ran Reggie Bullock through a bunch of off-ball screens, and then Reggie Bullock started to get open, and he started cashing them shots.
Yeah, and second half was great for y'all yesterday.
Yeah, because we finally, Thibs finally made adjustments. So basically, first half, Julius looked like a rookie who had never seen the ball on the court before.
That's tough.
He looked awful, and basically Derrick Rose was the only thing that was keeping us afloat, as usual.
As usual, sadly, but
yeah, one thing I do have to give props to is Derrick Rose for being the best player for us in this series so far, as Julius begins to put things together. But first half was awful. Capella was basically able to play free safety on defense because he wasn't paying attention to Nerlens Noel, who's not a threat on offense at all. Mm-hmm. So yeah, he was able to disrupt so much stuff that Julius wanted to do, as well as DeAndre Hunter. And then, of course, starting number 6 in the starting lineup didn't help things either, because
he played 5 minutes. I realized that. I don't know if it was after the first, because I don't remember seeing him after the first quarter, because of course he starts. So yeah. So when I'm looking at the box score right now, it literally says 5 minutes of gameplay over 2. And I think Thibs is finally listening to you guys known as Knicks Twitter, because at the end of the day, if the guy isn't producing, and it's just, I think he's going with his heavy hitters, people that he trusts, that he's seen throughout the season, put up for this team and win clutch games. D-Rose is one of them. I believe he started him in the second half, if I'm correct. But what won y'all this game, besides D-Rose contribution, was, of course, your defense, because at the end of the day, in the second half, there was a couple times the Hawks couldn't buy a bucket. And the two comparisons that I have with this team is that the Knicks are a gritty, physical team, rely on defense, turn defense into quick offense, while the Hawks are more so just a finesse team offensively. They're not going to bully you. They're not going to really shoot you that much out the gym. I think last game Bogdanovich was 2 for 13 from 3 or something like that.
Yeah, he was awful.
Yeah, he was just chucking it. I mean, regardless, is he going to go 2 for 13 again? I don't think so. Not. but I don't think he's gonna really kill y'all that much because I think you guys are now locked in at that end where it's like, okay, this 3-point shot must be stopped for us to have a chance in this series because of course threes is more than twos, and you're not a your team struggles offensively. But I mean, I still my prediction is still the same, Knicks in 5. I'm gonna just stick with that because the Knicks best player still hasn't had a great series yet, and I'm counting on Julius to be okay in Atlanta. I feel like he probably had added pressure because it was in the Garden, so he was
Oh,
kind
you
of
know that for a fact.
so he's just playing a little too safe at times. So in ATL, I see a big game 3 from him.
Yeah, one thing for sure is that Atlanta kind of messed up letting Julius get into rhythm in that second half because after he saw a couple shots go in, he finally was like, "All right, like I'm doing my thing now. I'm back to regular season Julius." And then he started dishing, like he started driving, kicking out to open shooters, kicking into the lane to Taj Gibson, and everything was working and it was looking like regular season Julius Randle all over again. So I feel like he's finally eased himself into a rhythm where he's like, you know what, I don't have to overthink things. Let me just rely on what I'm good at and just like not over just like simplify things. Cause like one thing I thought that he was doing in the first half was like he knew that this was the playoffs, so he was like trying to overthink things in a way where like he was like trying to like do too much and
Mhm.
like it just wasn't working, and like he just needed to relax and calm down, and then I think that's what happened in the second half, as well as just the adjustments that the team made on both sides of the ball. First of all, one thing I want to note that some people probably don't know is in this series, players on Atlanta defended by Julius Randle are 0 for 15.
Oh
That
wow.
is the best mark since that information's been being tracked since the 2013-14 season. So he's been straight clamps on defense, even though his offense has been struggling. So I feel like that will help him get into a rhythm as well. Because once you get those stops, you can get some fast break opportunities, easy baskets, drive
I
into
have
the
a
lane, get some fouls.
I have a quick question though, in
Mm-hmm.
reference to Julius' play offensively. Do you think it's better for this Knicks team for Julius to be playmaking Julius or aggressive Julius? Maybe those two things are intertwined, but I just want to get your input on that because what I saw in game 1, I said game 1, game 2, at least down the stretch, late third, early fourth, was Julius started playmaking out of the post, drives to the basket, kickouts. That kind of opened up for Reggie Bullock, who had a crazy fourth quarter. So, how do you feel about like which Julius do you think is the best for this team?
I think it all depends because like the way the starting lineup is, it's like it's really hard for him to be playmaking Julius, but it's also hard for him to be aggressive Julius because like there's so much clogging the paint because like you have two non-shooters and Atlanta ignores them and basically like floods the strong side so that way Julius can't make no passes to the corners, can't make no
Hmm.
drives baseline. He's basically stuck, and like it's hard for him to be a playmaker if there's not enough shooters. It's hard for him to be aggressive if the defense is just loading up on him. So it's really hard to say, but like in the second half, you saw like he kind of balanced it out. Like he started to at first he was like trying to be too aggressive still, and like he was making like silly turnovers and stuff like that, and still not hitting. I don't remember how many shots he took before he finally eased into things, but I think it was like one or two. But like
Yeah,
once
I
he
think the first
finally
half
eased
he had like
himself
three assists,
in,
three shots. Yeah, my fault. Go ahead.
but yeah, once he eased himself in, he like first he balanced it out with like some scoring, then he mixed in some playmaking, then he got to some scoring again. So it's like it's got to be a fair mixture. I would like to see more aggressive Julius, just so that way it can open up his playmaking. Because once he's aggressive, they have to double him, and then he can kick out
Yeah,
to whoever's open.
they're doubling him just off the catch. Like
Yeah, like it's ridiculous. Like
so he's gonna have to adapt to that. Of course, once he's not at superstar status yet, I believe he's at star status, of course, with his All Star and Most Improved awards. So, he's gonna have to adapt to that. Once he adapts to the doubles and the hedging off of screens and all that. Once he figures that out, man, the Knicks might just be able to pull this out in convincing fashion because that's all they're doing with Julius. They're not letting him go 1-on-1, and they just probably have to put him once. If you have Julius at the ball handling spot, and let's say Julius Man is Reggie Bullock or whatever. Let's say Reggie Bullock is being guarded by Trae Young, and you got Reggie Bullock setting the screen for a pick and pop, pick and roll, whatever you want. Just have Trae Young in that action because either one is a mismatch. Do you see Trae recovering that much to guard Reggie Bullock from three? We saw last game that Reggie Bullock's quick shot is once he's open, he's open. So
Yep.
I believe once the Knicks start doing that, involving Trae in some action, mixed with Julius's play, they'll be all right this series.
Yeah, like one thing for me going forward is I want to see this team attack Atlanta's weak defenders. They have a whole bunch of them: Trey, Herter, Lou Will, Gallo, Bogey, all bad defenders. And once the Knicks put those guys into some actions, make them work on defense, like, come on.
Yeah,
We already see the Knicks defense. And
that's what
then
I'm
once
saying.
we start attacking these guys on their bad defenders, like it should be not an easy series, but it should be way easier than it's been lately because we made things so hard on ourselves for like the first game and a half. So yeah, they just have to. Hopefully, Thibs doesn't roll out the same starting lineup because that also plays a big part because that's what gets us off to these slow starts, and then we have to rely on our bench to dig us out of holes.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, Thibs made those adjustments. Oh, another thing that Thibs did also very well that Knicks fans have been clamoring for him to do is blitz Trae Young at various times,
Facts.
and it
Facts.
worked. It worked.
Yeah, that's where y'all comeback started in I believe the third. That's when they started just it happened more in the fourth, but I saw a little glimpses of it in the third. Once you do that, getting the ball out his hands. Simple stuff like that. Because he is the
Yep,
most
it
dangerous
disrupts their
Hulk.
offense.
Yeah, disrupts it, the most dangerous Hulk on the floor. He has the deeper range and even the tightest handle. So once you get the ball out of his hands, it's just like make somebody else beat you. It's very cliche, but when you got a guy like that that can get it going with his floaters or just his shot, period, yeah, you gotta get the ball out of his hands. Tibbs, no, as defensively sound as he is, he knows that he has to get the ball out of his hands. He hasn't always done it in this series, even though it's only been 2 games. Because game one, he didn't really do that. He
Not
didn't
at
really
all.
he didn't
They let
force the
Trey do
ball out of
whatever
his
they
hands.
wanted. He wanted to do.
Yeah, and I mean, I guess it's a sign of respect now that he's starting to do that, but that should have happened out the gate, the same way they were doubling Julius as soon as game one started.
Yep. And one thing I gotta say is I respect Trey. He's taken a lot of the smack talk from the Garden faithful
I
in
love it.
stride. His pops has been a good sport about it on Twitter too. You know, they're kind of enjoying this moment, so respect to them. But screw the rest of the Hawks. They stay crying and complaining. Um,
Screw the rest of them.
yeah, Nate McMillan over here before the series even started, he over here crying about, oh, the Knicks, the NBA wants this, they want the Knicks to be in the playoffs, it's better for them, stuff like that. But like, where was this love for the Knicks up allegedly all these years in the lottery when they didn't help us move up at all? Like, I just don't get it. Like, there's no such thing as this bias or whatever this dude is talking about. And then John Collins is over here crying about so-called illegal screens today now. So it's like
Illegal
I'm
screen.
just tired of it, man. They sound like a bunch of babies. Just like lace
This
up,
is this
and
is
just hoop.
playoff basketball for you. Everything
Thank
is
you.
high intent.
Exactly.
They know everything is like they kind of have the pressure on them to win, even though New York has big pressure because they are fourth seed. But at the same time, I'm not gonna lie, both teams are technically not supposed to be here, according to what we predicted before the season started. Maybe the
Yeah.
Hawks were supposed to be an eighth seed or something like that. But this is a 4 or 5 seed matchup. So at the end of the day, both teams are very prideful on how they got here. Um, Trae Young and the Hawks almost didn't make the playoffs entirely. Without the coaching changes of Nate McMillan, we don't know if they will get it together. Of course,
Yeah.
with trades for Lou Will and getting Rondo out of there and stuff like that. So, I mean, one thing I'll say though is this series. the trash talking, the atmosphere is what the NBA needed for sure.
Yup. And
Um,
you and like see, like people like you appreciate this stuff, but like people on Twitter, like they crying about the chants and stuff, and like
bro, the chance is a part of basketball, bro. Like that,
exactly. This is part of like all the booing and the chants. Like you want us to cheer on Trey Young, like he's the opponent.
I feel like what people don't understand is that when you get into a stadium, of course, minus this whole thing with these fans these days doing what they're doing
Oh
with
yeah.
the Russell Westbrook and Trey Young. Besides those two dumb individuals, you got to understand once you step into an arena like that, whose team is prideful as the Knicks, you're gonna hear it. You're gonna hear it all. And it's playoff basketball, and it's fan stands. Is fan is short for fanatic. I love my team, and I don't want you to beat my team. It's that simple. Some
Yep.
people take it too far with what they say in the basketball during the basketball game, or they're too sensitive. I guess that's part of the new NBA these days with trash talking and stuff like that. But after game one, you couldn't tell me you weren't gonna tune in for game two,
Oh, of course not.
just based off how it was. Like atmospheres like that makes for good basketball as a basketball player and just a fan, because at the end of the day, this is what you want. High pressure situations, and who rises in those situations, and whoever rises from the dust, hey man, hats off to you. And this is what we're gonna see this series. I don't understand why people are so emotional. Basketball is an emotional game, so you just gotta take it for what it is, because at the end of the day, they want something. All the players want something. So that trash talk is gonna come with it, and the fans are just backing up their players.
Exactly. And like this is New York. Everybody knows New York is like we're some of the meanest, nastiest people. Like we just don't
Disrespectful.
care. Like we just don't care. Like we ride it for hours. We don't care. If you're not rocking orange and blue, we don't care about you. That it's simple as
Respectfully.
that.
Yeah.
And like people was like, yo, why are Knicks fans so mean to Trey Young? Like, dude, it's playoff hoops. Like he's the enemy. Like
Yeah.
we're not gonna
Enemy
be
number
buddy
one,
buddy with him.
especially when you're talking to the crowd as well.
Yeah, he's
People
he's he's egging it on. He likes it. Trey likes
okay.
it.
So
Like
but
so
what what
like
what has to be careful though is some players feed off of that. And of course you're not gonna pick and choose which player to trash talk, of course, because trash talking is trash talking, but certain players up their game when
of
the trash
course.
talking is. And I don't know if you saw it, but Draymond Green said the other day, I think it was today, that he's finally happy that the NBA and everybody else is seeing how much of a trash talker Trey Young is. And of course, being in Atlanta, they're not always on national TV games. So now that we're seeing this on a bigger stage, it's like, okay, let's see how you react to this. Let's see how much of a baller you really are when everybody hates you. Not like hates you in a personal way, but hates you in the basketball way. Like I don't want you to win. So I'm loving what I'm seeing through this series. I think that was the best game one I saw all series, all playoffs. And I don't think this might be the best series outside of what's happening with the Clippers. That's just a whole nother story.
Yeah. But yeah, like that game one was one of the highest rated games of the night, if not the highest rated game of the night. That Sunday night on TNT. Um, Knicks games have been rating really high. So like having playoff basketball back in New York and like with the full crowds now too, it's making money for the league. They see what's up. Like
Yeah,
they know what's
the crowd
happening.
factor is what's helping y'all. I'm not gonna lie, because the crowd is what helped y'all game
We
one,
don't make
not
that
game one, game two.
comeback. We don't make that comeback in game two without the crowd.
Yeah,
I'm saying
that's
that
that's a
like
whole
now, like
fact. That's a whole
maybe
fact. That's
we
for
do because we've been making comebacks all year, but like
the
the way it
emotion.
was looking, man, I was just like, I don't
Yeah,
know,
y'all was down
man.
like 15 in the third.
Yep, yep, it was rough, but we head into Atlanta on a high. A lot of Knicks fans in Atlanta, so home court shouldn't be that strong for Atlanta.
Yeah, I see
Um,
Knicks fans traveling for sure.
yeah, I follow a whole bunch that are headed to Atlanta. Or they're already either there or they heading down there soon. So
Yeah,
it's
man.
gonna be an interesting matchup.
Definitely.
All right, so let's move on to let's move on to the series that's actually taking place right now on TV. Just to like give like I guess give our thoughts on what's going on. It's looking like it's about to be 3-0 Milwaukee. They're up 20 in the fourth against Miami in game 3 in Miami with a full packed house. So it's
Man,
it's looking scary for them bubble boys right now.
it's currently a 21 spank, about to be 22 if Giannis makes his free throw. But like, I was not expecting the Heat to. I'm not gonna say lay down like this, but my goodness, I thought after game one, with how badly Jimmy played game one, I'm like, all right, it went into overtime. Y'all still had a chance to win, but y'all couldn't get it done. But knowing Jimmy, I'm like, all right, Jimmy, you'll show up in the playoffs because you've done it before. Of course, you've lost to whoever you lost in the playoffs over these past few years, but he is a guy that has shown that he will step up. But clearly not. The first two games is like what? What was his box score? 4 for 32 or 8 for 32, something like that. And I'm looking
I
at
know
this like,
his game one box score was disgusting. Like it was
yeah, it was like
like
that
four
was
for
4 for 22.
22.
Yeah, I know that. So I'm assuming he went 4 for 10 the next game because I know the 32 is a true thing.
Yeah,
Um,
he was 4 for 10 in the next game.
so like I'm looking at this like, all right, I mean, all I can say about this series is Milwaukee did not want to lose to them again. And
Oh
they
yeah.
looked at they definitely did not want to lose to them again. Of course, there's Drew Holiday that has, in my opinion, at the point guard spot is really key. Another ball handler that can set up offense and get his own bucket because
Huge upgrade over Bledsoe.
Bledsoe was not cutting it. and
At all.
and so with him paired with Giannis, paired with Middleton, who can also get his own shot off, as we saw in game one with the game winner. Um, sheesh. 3-0 is beastie, but it's looking like it's gonna happen, barring a Heat comeback, which I don't see happening, even though they are in Miami. Like, I don't know what it is. Is it probably the regression of Tyler Hero with him not playing as much minutes? I don't know if that's a bubble thing, if that's an Eric Spoelstra thing, but it's like whatever we saw from Miami last year is definitely not what we're seeing. I believe my prediction was Milwaukee in 6, if I remember correctly, but this looking like a good sweep 4-0. Like, this is what it's looking
Yeah,
like.
like it's looking bad for Miami right now. I knew Miami was gonna lose. Not even just because like they're not in the bubble no more, and like that's been the joke to crack. It's been my favorite joke to crack, honestly. But I just think Miami regressed and Milwaukee got exponentially better. Like you add someone like a Drew Holiday, I was huge on that because I saw the fraud that Eric Bledsoe was, um,
I
and
saw it from the beginning.
how Rich Paul helped him steal money. But
Yeah,
like,
chill, chill. That's the man's job. You got to get my son paid. That's Rich Paul's job.
but like, my goodness, like you just like talk about a heist. Talk about a
Yeah,
heist,
I
man.
think his deal was like 3 years for 33 mil or something north of that. I forgot what the actual numbers were, but he got a payday for like
I
3 years.
remember. I think it was like 3 years, $70 million
Yeah, I want
extension.
to
I'm
say
not
he
sure.
probably got. Yeah, but it was up there
Yeah,
for a role
it's
playing
dollars
starting
he should
point
not
guard.
be getting paid.
Yeah,
He
pretty.
owes Giannis. He owes Giannis a finals appearance at the least. Because
but
my man's was shooting like 12% from three in like certain series down the
facts.
stretch. Like it was bad. Like he's just so awful. And Drew Holiday is like such an improvement over him. You see the difference automatically.
And
So
the shooting, they're a better shooting team than they were last year.
oh yeah, the
With
additions of Portis and
Forbes,
Forbes,
yeah,
huge.
Forbes lost his mind game too.
Whew, that boy was just shooting that thing without even looking at the rim, basically.
Yeah,
Sometimes.
see, this is the thing about Milwaukee, though. This is just when they were only a couple pieces away in terms of role pieces. I don't think they needed a star. They just needed more players and their starting players to get a little bit better. But with Giannis, he's he hasn't looked great in this series. That's the thing. He hasn't looked like a dominant player, and yet they're about to go up 3-0. I think that's something to look at because now his teammates are more so picking up the slack. And Chris Middleton, I wouldn't say he has elevated his play, but I would believe that's needed. Because if you're about to sweep Miami, it's looking like Brooklyn is also about to sweep Boston. So you
If they're
gotta
on a
just
collision course right now.
yeah. So if Giannis hasn't had his best game yet, and they're about to go up 3-0, I think that's a good sign.
Yeah. I mean, Giannis had like his stats looked pretty good, but like the shooting percentages in game one weren't all that good.
Definitely
He
wasn't.
had 26, 18, 5, and 3
Yeah, it looked good,
on
but when you look at the shooting
37%.
percentage,
37%, yeah. Um and he struggled, and then he had that elbow thing. Game two was his best game. 31, 13, and 6 and 3 on 52%, 1 for 7 from 3.
mhm.
So he was really good in that game. And he didn't even have to play that much. He only played 30 minutes because
That's what
they
I'm
was
saying. Like
just
those
they was
points,
smoking them.
I wouldn't say they were empty points, but this was half of those was in blowout season.
Oh yeah, like he was playing still in like the fourth quarter, I think it was. Like he was
Yeah,
in there in the fourth quarter, so
I'm
yeah,
just
he
waiting
he, he
on.
made sure to pad his stats. Respect to him. No, he earned that
I'm
right.
waiting on Giannis to be in a. I'm waiting on them to be in a tight game, and what Giannis does offensively during that tight game. Um, it's just I can't really say much anymore about the series because I'm really disappointed in what Jimmy Butler is producing
And
right now,
Bam.
and
And
Bam as
Bam.
well. Bam was talking a lot of. I'm not trash, but he was talking a lot this season about what he deserves and his improvements all around. And then you come into the playoffs against a team you disrespected last season, and now you can't even buy a game. I think that's very telling, and there might be some changes in Miami because if I remember correctly, Pat Riley did not want to pull the trigger on the reported James Harden deal because he wanted to keep Tyler Hero or Duncan Robinson, one of those guys, because they were definitely in the James Harden running. But after that, you don't make that trade. You don't pull the trigger because you think your collection of parts is not worth James Harden. But now look at what's happening. So this they're gonna have to do some soul searching. This team might not look the same next year. I'm not hoping for it, but I'm just saying like their role players, such as the Goran Dragic. I don't think Goran is gonna be there for long. Bielitsa, who barely gets playing time. Like there's some of these guys, Kendrick Nunn. Yes, Kendrick Nunn is good, but he hasn't been able to even come into his own because Goran Dragic is taking that point guard spot. Yes, he's a veteran, but it's just a lot of question marks on this team are going to arise next season, and it don't look too good for Jimmy.
um yeah, I mean Heat fans, I mean the Heat, they were also in the running for Kyle Lowry too. At the deadline, they were like right there with the Lakers and the Sixers, I think it was.
Hmm.
But they didn't want to give up like Tyler Hero and whatever else assets. Man, if all these rumors about like he keeping Tyler Hero out of deals, like Tyler
Yeah,
Hero
I've
be
seen
better
that reported
become.
multiple times. Like I've
Yeah, I
seen that,
know. So and like Heat fans always keep rebuttaling, saying, "Oh, that's not true. It's not true. It's not true."
bro.
But
That
like
is
at a certain point, if all these reports keep coming out, it has to be true. But to my point about that is, if all these reports are true and the Heat really see Tyler Hero as like this building block piece, he's got to like provide some type of consistent um level of production that I can look at and be like, oh, all right, I see something there. Right now, he just looks like a overhyped JJ Redick most of the time, to me at least.
and then sorry. Then on top of that, with him and Duncan in the game, those two are defensive liabilities.
Yeah,
So I understand why he's not getting played all the time, but compared to what happened last season, even though that is bubble vibes, you have to put your best hitters on the court. And if is looking like Tyler Hero is no longer one of their best hitters.
yeah, it's looking rough for him. For him, this series, um, he's played 18 minutes today.
Mhm.
7 points on 9 shots. Yeesh. But he hasn't. I haven't seen him on the court as of late. Right now, like right now, they're running a lineup of Goran, Bam, Jimmy, Bielitsa, and Robinson.
Facts. Yeah, I
and
saw
Bielitsa's trying to shoot them back into it, but like
that. It's
they
not
like
gonna
down by
happen that way.
23, so it's like it's about to be 3-0. So basically the question now is, can Miami steal at least one game now?
Nah, I'm not seeing it. If you're gonna play like this, there's no way you can steal a game. Like I'm not.
Yeah.
I don't like. They have really lost. I've lost faith in them just based off of these 2.5 games because it's like, bro, what? Why are you not the same? I'm not saying you have to be the same team, but like, why are you just looking like a whole fraud right now?
I
So
mean, I think one thing that Heat fans they've said is Jay Crowder is not here.
true, I'll give you that.
True,
That's
I guess, but like Jay Crowder's also someone like before the bubble, he wasn't that good of
yeah.
a
He
shooter. I
wasn't.
mean, in the bubble, he was looking like Klay Thompson, so like you gotta take that
Think
with a
about
grain of
it.
salt.
People like Jay Crowder or energy guys, and they're people that don't uh take BS on the court, and they always fight. Like Jay Crowder is a guy you want on your team, but then you hate to play against because he's so like I wouldn't say,
Annoying.
yeah, he's like annoying defensively, and he talks a lot and he claps his hands, tries to get in your head. I'm not saying that that's happening for the Lakers right now, but it's just like if Jay Crowder is the reason why you're not playing like this, then I think you got to do some soul searching.
Yeah, you got bigger problems, man. If Jay Crowder is like the reason for this, and also another thing that they did was they kind of. I mean, I know Kelly Olynyk wasn't really producing that much for them, and then, like when he went to the Rockets, I mean they were a tanking team, but he was able to like put up great numbers. But yeah, they traded Victor. They traded for Victor Oladipo. They gave away Avery Bradley and Kelly Olynyk, and they got back
Oh
Victor
man,
Oladipo, who's basically always damaged goods at this point because like
I feel
his
so bad
body is
for
just
him.
cooked.
I almost forgot about him.
But
Almost.
yeah, like they traded for him, and I feel like that's a depth piece that they could have used right during this series, and he's just not available. So I mean, yeah, it's looking like it's wraps for these Miami boys. They about
Yeah,
to enjoy Cancun very soon.
yeah. 1, 2, 3, Cancun, because that's where they about to go.
Yeah, and we can look forward to a nice Milwaukee Brooklyn series, which everyone will be tuned in
Tuned
for.
in. Yeah, everybody's gonna be tuned in for that, no doubt.
Let's move on to another series that's 2-0 that's a little bit more entertaining. I guess more for just to like laugh at the Clippers, I guess. Go
Yo, oh my god. Yo. Okay, so not to cut you because I'm very passionate about this series. Me,
ahead.
me being a Braun fan, you got to understand Kawhi Leonard. I'm not a super team builder, but at the same time, let's run it back, right? Kawhi Leonard declined coming to the Lakers. Of course, which is fine because him, LeBron, and AD is a little bit OP. So I respect that. You make your own team, but you come back, you come to the city that LeBron James is in, and then you make all these commercials. You bring Paul George, which I thought is a surprise because Paul George, as of late in the playoffs, was not doing it for you. But you bring him on anyway, two-way player. That's fine. Let me tell you, last season in the bubble, me and my man's Vano that we when we were doing the bubble predictions last year and all that stuff, and we looked at the series, we were like, he was very adamant in saying if Kristaps Porzingis was not suspended or thrown out of one of those games, and of course I think he was injured for another one, um, they would have had a first round exit. I looked at him like you're crazy because at the end of the day, I respect what Kawhi Leonard does, and I know PG is not much of a fold, but the way this season has gone, this team is like I don't know if it's the Clippers curse or just these two players or the collection of parts on the Clippers are not what they need. They have two uber scorers. Paul George can score with the best of them. Kawhi, when he wants to, can score with the best of them. But their collection of parts, like they don't have a real point guard. Yes, Rondo is there, but even though he's played 1.5 games, his minutes has not been the best. They still starting Pat Bev and Reggie Jackson over him, which I think is wrong because why bring Rondo there if you're not going to play him down the stretch? That's number one. Number two, these guys, I don't know. Luka is just picking apart every matchup. He's literally pick and roll. Come here, Zubac. Let me shoot over you. Come here, P. Bev. You're too small. Come here, Kawhi. You claim you're a 2-time DPOY, but come hold this one-legged fadeaway. Oh, PG, you've been talking all series from last year with all your nonsense of how the bubble affected you. But anyways, come get this bucket. Um, and then he literally, I've have highlights in my latest episode that literally he gives a bucket to everyone off the
Yeah, he
pick and
cooked the
roll,
whole Clippers squad.
like literally only off the pick and roll. How are you exclusively giving buckets just off the pick and roll? And honestly, the Clippers are switching way too much because if you have such defensive guys, why are you putting Zubac in that position to have to guard Luka on the perimeter? That's really one of the things that I'm like scratching my head about because it doesn't make any sense. And then Ty Lue, I was on the record on the last episode saying Ty Lue is going to tap into something that will make them play better. And as of right now, I don't know if he can because Kawhi had 40 last game, had 30 in the first half, and then went quiet in the second half. Granted, when you have 30 in the first half, we're looking for more in the second, but the second half was supposed to be Paul George half. He ended up with like 28 or 29, but it wasn't buckets down the stretch that you would look for from a superstar. Luka had all of them. And when Luka didn't have a bucket, he was able to create offense because now they're gonna send a double.
That's a major issue with the Clippers team is they're not able to like create for each other.
That's what Rondo was for, but apparently Rondo isn't, like, don't get me wrong. Is he motivated? I believe so, but he doesn't it doesn't look like
It's
I
not
heard.
really playoff Rondo right now.
Yeah, I'm not saying it's not playoff Rondo, but I think Rondo is looking at this roster or looking at how they play because I think there was a couple times in both games where he was yelling at players and coaches. Um, but I think he's looking at this team like, okay, y'all not built, y'all not really built for this. Why? I don't know. Um, but these Clippers, man, if they don't get out the first round. And it's looking like Kawhi is leaving because Paul George is locked up for another 2 years, if I'm correct, because he signed a max a year before he got traded to the Clippers. Um, and Kawhi is a free agent. So this Clipper team can really look way different than it is. And it's, oh man, if this happens, man, I just got to tip my hat to Luka because Luka is in his third year giving buckets and nobody can do a thing about it. That's a bad man. And like he's really doing it with his jump shot. And of course, shout out to Brunson, to Tim Hardaway, to slightly Kristaps because Kristaps isn't really having good games. He's just helping spacing the floor at this point. But
Yeah.
like that's
Um
my rant. These guys gotta pack it up.
I mean, today a quote came out that like Rick Carlisle said that Rondo knows all his plays, so basically they've been like freestyling the Mavericks offense. So that makes it
Man,
even look worse on the
and you still can't guard me.
yeah, you still can't stop them. Like it's just crazy. We getting glimpses of that Mavericks offense that was number one rated offense all time last season. We getting that glimpse of that again this offseason with the Mavericks finally fully healthy and able to gain some chemistry heading into these games. But Luka just really does not like the Clippers. I don't know if it was what Montrezl Harrell said to him last year, what Marcus Morris was trying to punk them last year. But Luka is he's just not with it, and they can't stop him.
Yeah,
And one thing that I don't like that the Clippers do is they soft switch so much. It's like,
yo,
why are you
oh,
willingly giving up the switch to get Pat Bev
willingly.
on him? And he wants Pat Bev on him. I just don't understand. What are you doing?
Like it's not like what from his because the question mark with the Clippers at least these past 2 years is your superstars are known for being two-way superstars. Like that is their MO. Clamp you up on one end and get buckets on the other. So I'm trying to understand, is it Ty Lue saying we're switching everything, or is it you guys are just in the mindset of okay, switch here, switch here? That's probably the problem of this new NBA where the switching and positionless basketball. But bro, if Luca is like 6'7", 6'8", P Bev is what 6'4" at most, if I'm correct, and you're still it's question marks, bro, because now they don't look. These guys are no longer the defensive superstars that we know them to be. They're all playing defense based on name at this point. Like this is there's it's only their reputation, and their reputation just might precede them because this is not what you expect from a P Bev or a Paul George or Kawhi Leonard defensively, at
Well,
least.
For me, Pat Bev is cooked. Like he's been through so many injuries, and like at this point,
True.
he's just a growling dog at this point on defense. Like
Yeah,
he's
a
not
dog
about
with no
it.
bite.
Yeah, he's all bark no bite, like you said. But like yeah, he's just they're willingly trying to get him switched onto like they're picking on him literally. They're picking on him like he's a Trey Young, like a Lou Will type of
Yeah,
guy.
him and Zubac is in every damn pick and roll, every one of them.
And Clippers is just soft switching everything and just letting him get the mismatch he wants. So it's gonna be very interesting to see what the Clippers adjustments are heading into game 3 on the road.
On the
They gave up
road,
2 at home.
their home court
And they have to
advantage
go
is
on
gone.
gone and they have to go on the road to a full capacity Dallas Mavericks playoff game.
I didn't
Those
even
guys
know
are
they
going to
were
be
full capacity.
amped.
That's
Huh?
crazy. I didn't know
Yeah,
they were full capacity.
yeah,
That's
they said
crazy.
it's basically full capacity at this point
Oh
for
man,
Dallas. Yeah.
talk about in the enemy's territory down like
0-2
oh
that you're just
two.
asking for trouble.
Hey, but one thing I'll say is if they can get out of this, then they like what I said last episode is adversity is good for championship teams, right?
Yep.
And they're definitely have championship aspirations. If they can get out this series, they're gonna be battle tested already just off of the first series. So that would be a good thing. But
Yep.
if they can't get out of this series, just blow the team up. Kawhi might jump to another team again, and who knows what will be left of Paul George's career, honestly.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if the Clippers look. I don't even want to bring up blowing it up because I feel like that's still a little bit premature. But
Nah, they got to, bro. Because based on expectations and
they
everything, and
failed.
the two superstars that you brought and how they got here, you might just have to blow it up, bro. Because there's no excuse. Like the team, they built this team to beat the Lakers, and if you can't get to the Lakers both times, and if the Lakers somehow get championships both times, yo, you just gotta certain teams, they either have a curse, but certain players, you just got to look at it as, okay, this guy is not getting it done. And we might look at that as for Paul George. For Kawhi, we might just say he hops to different teams too many times if he decides to leave. But it's not looking good. I'm not gonna lie to you. I was shocked. I know Luka is that guy. I know how much of a bucket he is. But yo, 2-0, both of them in LA. Nah, bro. Like you would think the LA crowd would be there, but they had fake fans there. That's how you know it's not a Clipper town because they have fake fans in the stands. And I know
They're the Nets
of yeah, word.
of
But
LA.
and I know as this Laker game is soon about to start, I know that Staples Center will be packed. Ain't no fake fans. What are you telling me? They're gonna put whatever percentage they're at. They're gonna have fans in there, and it's not gonna be no fake fans because the Clippers are just a disappointment. I really didn't think it would get this far after 2 games, but of course it's only 2 games. This is a 7 game series. We'll see what game 3 and 4 look like, but just pack them up. It's looking real early for that. Like they're gonna have to be on
Kawhi, time to
10
come run with a real squad. Come pull up to New York.
Well, that's the
We got
you
the
want
young
that energy.
squad, young foundation. I know Kawhi, you probably seen MSG rocking the other day for a team that gives it up on defense.
You want that energy on your squad. I don't think I
Exactly.
do. Because this
What,
super,
Kawhi?
yeah, I don't know if I like Kawhi is talented, but Kawhi to the Knicks, that doesn't fit media wise, maybe
It doesn't
player
fit
wise,
Kawhi's
mo.
yeah. But like it like basketball wise, definitely
Oh
fits.
no, yeah,
Like
basketball wise, yeah, it's there. Word.
But like
I don't know.
Kawhi isn't like the personality. Yeah, I don't know if it fits because like he's like a low key dude, and like New York
Yeah,
likes to
the
be up
way New
all
York
in your
media is,
face.
New York media can get real personal. They can get in your business a little bit. You know what I'm saying? So I don't think that's a fit for Kawhi. Maybe the team, yes, but Kawhi, nah.
Um, Gotta give a shout out to Tim Hardaway Jr. He's been shooting lights out.
Word, yeah.
Once a Nick, always a Nick. Tim Hardaway Jr. He's been killing it. So shout outs to him. He's killing it, and he's basically been the number two next to Luka in this series.
Yeah,
And
big shots by him. Definitely down the stretch of game two, because that's what he's gonna have to do. Once Luka starts getting those doubles,
just
that's
hit
a
open threes. That's it. His
yeah,
job is really easy now. Because
yeah.
like one thing about like his tenure in New York, the second time at least, is like once Porzingis went down with the injury, we kind of like were forced to make Tim Hardaway the number one option. And he was not signed to do that, and he's not built for that. So like his job is like super simplified in Dallas to the point where like he can do everything that he thrives at such a high level, um and so minimally that he doesn't have to overextend himself, which is what he had to do in New York and why it didn't work out and why we ended up trading him. But yeah, I mean, shout outs to him. He's finally in like a role where he's comfortable in. They will have to pay up to keep him in the offseason because players like him do demand a pretty sizable contract. So
Yeah, when you're a role player that is very very important to a team's success, you will demand that type of money and contract. But I mean, depending on how the Mavericks season goes in the playoffs, he'll be very deserving of it. Pay cut,
yeah,
maybe not, just to make sure everybody on the team sticks together or get another piece. But the future is bright for Tim Hardaway if he decides to stay with this team, because the way their offense is set up and it runs through Luka so much, he will be getting open shots all the time.
yep. And Jalen Brunson, who I want my Knicks to steal from the Mavericks, because he's such a solid point guard and like he gets to the rim, he can shoot, like he does everything so well. So it's like, man, he plays really well. I like the way he plays. He's been really solid for them off the bench. He finished like top five, I think, in like 6 man of the year voting this year or something like that.
Mhm.
So yeah, he's been pretty good. So I mean, if they keep it up, and role players play better at home, and they've been playing pretty well on the road, so I could imagine how they're going to be in Dallas. But yeah. Quick update as we are recording. The Bucks game did just end, and they are up 3-0 in the series. So it's
Sweep,
on
bring the
Milwaukee
brooms
to
out.
avoid that. It's on Miami to avoid that sweep.
Bring the brooms
Um,
out.
Facts. Um, let's get into another entertaining series in the West with the other LA team.
Yes, sir.
Lakers versus Phoenix. We probably won't have the updates of the end of this game because it is just now starting as we're recording on Thursday night. But first game went to Phoenix. Chris Paul did get hurt, shoulder injury. He
Yeah,
did. He looked like a shell of himself after that. Like his arm was just basically
shot.
useless. Yeah, it was basically useless and could do nothing with it. So it's gonna be interesting to see how he does in game three because game two he was also not that much of a factor. It was more of the Cameron Payne show, the other CP on the team, um,
Yo.
who came in and just lit it up. One thing I gotta shout out Cameron Payne real quick because he was a meme and he was also known as Westbrook's dance partner for a very for most of
Deservingly.
his career basically.
Hmm.
Went to China, came back, was in the G League, and then he got picked up by Phoenix before the bubble, showed out in the bubble, and he's been consistent ever since. And for Phoenix, he's just been killing it.
Dope
And I gotta,
stories like that. Cameron Payne definitely deserved to be shouted out. Just a testament to his hard work. And like you said, he was a walking meme. And for him to now be known as somebody that's a contributing factor to a playoff team, It's great to know in his career that he's stepped his game up. Because some guys would take that criticism and just fade out into the background depending on the type of player they are. But Cameron Payne kept working, like you said. He left the A, got his stuff together, came back, and now he's a backup point guard for Chris Paul, and he's learning a lot from Chris Paul. I can tell. So it's great for him to be balling like he is.
Yup, it is truly great to see. Shout outs to him. So yeah, the first game went to Phoenix. Second game went to the Lakers, and Phoenix had a chance to go up 2-0 in this because down the stretch of game two, Lakers were they were up for a good portion of the second half,
Yeah, we
and
were
then
up like
towards the end
15.
of yeah, and then like towards the end of the third, heading into the fourth, that's when the game really tightened up, and Devin Booker was like getting hounded by the Lakers defense.
You got
Like,
to when when
yeah,
when Chris Paul is out like that, and then of course Devin Booker is the only one. I wouldn't say the only one, but he's the main guy who can get a shot off by himself and or create for others. You got to get the ball out of his hands. Um, Impressions on the game. I liked what I saw. Of course, bounce back games from the two Lakers stars, AD and LeBron. Um, but what I noticed, I mean, just from the Lakers side of it, LeBron is coasting. I don't know if
you
you
think
can
it's
tell
coasting?
that boy is coasting. Not on the defensive end.
I think the ankle's really bothering him. I think it's that because like
I mean, yeah,
he's taking jumpers and he's not even driving, and like people are saying it's the double big lineup, but like I've noticed even in like the one big lineups, he's still not driving as much,
hmm
and he's not even showing that much explosion
nah,
off the
you're
leg.
correct. You are correct. But
So
he did
yeah,
have a couple. He had a couple showings of I can still get up and with those two dunks. But I think he's coasting on the offensive end where he's picking his spots. Like I mean, I guess it's just the veteran savviness. But
yeah,
there's been times in LeBron's career where we questioned his motor on both ends of the court. We definitely saw that late Cleveland, era 2014 and on, and of course early Lakers before AD got there. There was a sense where LeBron was just saving the tank. What I think he's doing now is properly monitoring his injury because, like you said, he is taking more jump shots, and if his jump shot is falling like that one just did, wow. But it's gonna be hard to guard him with him being hobbled or not because if he's able to just I think he only had like 24 or 25 last game. And that's that I mean for some players that's a great night, but for him that's a regular night. And
yeah,
and he's allowing AD to probably dominate the shot chart while he picks his spots where like, okay, the Suns are on a run. Let me go get a bucket real quick. Oh, let me go get two buckets. Oh, let me get a stop. LeBron is really coasting offensively. Defensively, he's locked in because if he's not locked in defensively, they're probably down 2-0. So um, just seeing what the Lakers have done. Shout out and Andre Drummond. He's been a he's been a he's been a he's been a not a beneficiary, but he's been he's been talked about in various ways. Just his ability to I'm not saying get a bucket, but being set up and playing alongside the two stars is very key. Um, LeBron is feeding him. What we saw last game was LeBron was making sure every time there was a mismatch in that paint, he gave him the ball, which is kind of a good thing because you don't want Andre Drummond just running around not getting touches. That's when you see the lacks on defense. That's when you see the lack of energy. Um, so the Lakers in all, I mean, I'm like what I'm seeing, of course, because remember we're still injured. We're still not in proper rhythm and the KCPs of the world, the Wesley Matthews of the world, they're gonna get going eventually because KCP had a horrible night. Um, but this Chris Paul injury though,
That's just KCP sometimes though.
yeah. Because one night he'll go 0 for 8, next night he'll go like 6 for 8. So I'm not really too upset at that. But how do you feel? How do you feel about Chris Paul's injury? Because I remember in my podcast I definitely said that it's something to look at, and if he can't go right like we saw in games 1 and 2, then the series might be over quickly than we thought. Probably 5 games if he really can't be the point guard that we know him to be. I mean, right now he's looking kind of mobile in terms of that, but it's a definite difference of Chris Paul going right, and since he's a right-handed player, that is very problematic for the Phoenix Suns. But I mean, I like this series. It's very entertaining. It can go either way. But the one thing for the Suns is DeAndre Ayton's performance. We like to look at Devin Booker, but DeAndre Ayton is also in his first playoff appearance getting
Yeah,
double
he's been
double.
really solid. I liked his production so far. Like he's played really well.
Yeah, he looks like he's just comfortable. It seems like the lights of the playoffs aren't really bothering him too much, and that's what you like to see in a young player. Devin Booker is fearless. We know that.
Yeah,
So
we already knew what to expect from Devin Booker, so
yeah,
this was nothing new. But for me, yeah, with Chris Paul, it's not even a matter of just going right. It's a matter of like the handle. The handle looked really shaky in game one after the injury.
hmm
The shot, like if he can't make shots, then he's basically useless, and you gotta go more with Cameron Payne again and hope he has it rolling again. And then you also gotta hope Jay Crowder and Mikal Bridges shoot better. Jay Crowder was 1 for 6 from three. Mikal Bridges was 2 for 4 from three, but you would probably hope to get more shots out of him. Um, and yeah, like just stuff like that. You just hope you can get more from the others to kind of like supplement for that missing Chris Paul performance if he doesn't have it going. With the shoulder. But yeah, it sucks that the Chris Paul had to get this injury, not just for the fact that Chris Paul gets an injury every postseason. It seems like these days, but for the simple fact that we're probably gonna get robbed of a possible like classic first round series that could have went like 6 or 7 games. Instead, it may go. It still probably could go six, but it's not gonna be probably
as entertaining.
as entertaining or probably as competitive as we hope it is. I mean, so far this game is opening up really competitively, and hopefully it can stay like that. Um, but yeah, I'm just hoping Chris Paul is like he gets a little bit healthier throughout this series. That way we can really see these teams, because these teams are not at full strength if Chris Paul's not healthy. Like this is the whole point of this whole matchup that everybody was so excited about, is seeing these two teams finally at full strength against each other. And everyone was hoping it would have came in a conference finals matchup, but unfortunately we get it in the first round, or fortunately we get it in the first round, depending on where you stand with this. But yeah, I just want to see more from the others from Phoenix, because like Jay Crowder was just like he was basically almost on the Lakers side at at a point in the fourth quarter, because I was just watching the game and I was like, yo, Jay Crowder, you got to hit a shot, dog. Like you're not helping the Suns at all. Like for them to have you out here is a detriment to them, but they kind of have no choice because like they had to roll with Cameron Payne at point, so they had to roll with you, D Book, Da, and Bridges. So like, and then like they swapped him out for Cam Johnson, I believe, at a point. But
Yeah, and
like,
you don't want Cam Johnson in this situation. He's too small and he's inexperienced. I'm not saying he can't ball. I'm just saying if you're gonna put Cam
but yeah,
Johnson
you
in,
would rather Jay Crowder in that
exactly,
situation.
and then Jay Crowder is
And
a
if
better
it's shooting
defender.
out the game, then it's useless.
Exactly. And like what we saw game 2 was Cam Johnson in the game and LeBron said, "Oh yeah, baby food." So so when you see that, it's like, all right, we get it. But the Suns here let me say this though, because we say we're gonna lack competitiveness in the series because of lack of health. But I mean, if I'm not saying it equals the same thing, but the Lakers being injured and then one player on the Suns being injured kind of makes it even, but that one player on the Suns is literally the engine. So I see what you're saying
Ooh,
where
Chris Paul just hit a midi that looked super crisp. I don't know. He may be Gucci.
it's
I don't know if Braun. I don't know if Braun hit him up with the HGH plug or whatever it was, but he looked
that's what I'm
he
saying.
looked spry on that jumper just now.
So we're gonna hope for good health because I don't want to hear any excuses. Because at the end of the day, I do have the Lakers winning in six. Um, you feel me? Because look, we don't want to say this about Chris Paul, but he has that curse, and where it's literally every time he gets to the playoffs, either him or his own teammate gets hurt. We've seen this with Clippers. We've seen this on the Rockets. We didn't see that on the OKC because they got beat by Houston in a 7-game series first round. But you just got to shake your head when it comes to Chris Paul and injuries in the playoffs because this is what probably the fourth time we're seeing it out of the
Or at
last
least like,
7 games.
yeah, like it's been ridiculous.
But this game three is gonna look great. Probably one more thing that I'll look out for is just the guard play of possibly the Lakers, what they do. The minutes for Alex Caruso, because I believe Caruso every time he comes in the game is a positive. So I don't like. I'm not like after game two. I knew game two was happening. Like I knew game two was going to happen that way in terms of the Lakers getting the W and the two stars winning or playing good because these two stars they listen to the chirping. They understand that all right. I had a bad game. Let me go get that back, and they went and did that. Devin Booker's going to need some help from CP for this to be a series because if CP isn't CP, we already know how the series will end
Hmm.
because this is a hobbled Lakers team, and even a hobbled Lakers team is very, very dangerous.
Yeah. Um. Yeah. I mean, I'm still iffy on my Suns in six pick, but after this game, I'll probably have a better feeling on how I feel. After game three, I'll have a better feeling on where I stand with that pick still, because I want to see how Chris Paul looks. If Chris Paul looks healthy still, and the Suns are healthy as a whole, then I'm still feeling confident in that Suns and six pick. But I do want to see more from the others on Phoenix because in the playoffs, you know what you're gonna get from at least your main guys. It's always about what the others are gonna provide. So and that goes for both sides of this matchup because like in game, I want to say game two, Dennis had like 25. I want to say,
Yeah, definitely game two.
and then Drummond, as you mentioned, he had like 15 and 12, and like that's rare for Drummond these days, surprisingly, or at least the impact that he had on the game was rare, where he wasn't like a total minus on the floor. Where
Mm-hmm.
sometimes he puts up those numbers, but like he looks awful on defense, and like on offense, he's like missing like five layups or whatever it is. But like, yeah, we'll see how it is. Um, again to update. It doesn't even matter to update the people because they've already seen this. But AD just got elbowed in the nose, so we'll see how that goes with AD.
Mm-hmm.
Um, last year's I do want to talk about um is the 3-6 matchup in the West, Denver versus Portland. Um,
This is
it's
an
this
entertaining series.
it is, but like it's a weird series because the series is tied, but like both games have ended in blowouts. So it's really hard to like gauge, I guess, kind of where the teams stand.
I think it's because these teams, of course, without Jamal Murray, they now looked evenly matched. Um,
Yeah, to an
What I
extent.
did notice, yeah, to an extent, but what I did notice between the two games, of course, the first game was won by Portland, if I remember correctly, and then the second
Mm-hmm.
game was won by Denver. The
Yeah.
difference in the first two games that I saw from Jokic, at least, was in the first game he had like one assist, and we don't really look at Jokic to only have one assist. So the Portland Trailblazers made him the scorer. They said, okay, we know you like to pass the rock and get everybody involved. So we're going to make you the scorer. Let everybody else create for themselves. And that's kind of a good game plan. But I believe Jokic adapted to that the second game and said, all right, I'm going to still get my 30, close to 40, but I'm going to make sure my guys get buckets and they're going to also be aggressive off the ball. I think he had like 7 or 8 assists in game two, just to tell you the difference. But Damian Lillard, uh, he's looking at Campazzo as baby food. I'm not gonna lie to you.
Yo,
Uh,
Campazzo should not want any parts
but
of Dame right
yeah,
now.
but Campazzo, he's no slouch though. He looks like he's one of those guys that once again you like him on your team and hate to play against because he's gonna run defensively. He's not gonna short you. He's gonna give 110%. He's gonna play towards the refs.
He one of them tryhards.
Yeah, and like what he kind of reminds me of a better Matthew Dellavedova who just runs around the court defensively. He can definitely create for his shot, and he has a better 3-point shot than Dellavedova. But in terms of what he does on the court, he's a little bit uber excited or extra try hard, like you said. But that's part of winning basketball. But Dame is looking at him like, yo, you're doing too much. Get off me. Like, hold this three ball. Hold this. Like, there was one time he floored him without even having the basketball. And he pulled a three in his face in the corner in game one. I'm like, yo, Dame, you gotta chill. Because no one on that Denver team can really guard him. In game two, we
Hmm.
saw Aaron Gordon go on him, and it was kind of a little bit of a different outcome because of
Yeah, it
Aaron
kind of
Gordon's
muffled him
length.
a little bit.
Yeah, besides Aaron Gordon, everybody was getting it. But that's the problem with the Trailblazers. It'd be well, after Damian Lillard, I'm not. There's no guarantee that everybody else is going to get buckets. And of course,
I
there's
mean,
CJ,
it's
but
CJ, yeah, and CJ, and then Norman Powell maybe, Carmelo
see,
Anthony
that's
on a
what I'm saying
good
though.
night.
Yeah, you're making like when you say those things, you have question marks next to them. So,
Yeah, exactly.
but like
So
like just to show you the thing about Dame that I've probably been saying is just that I think it was game two because game two was the game that they lost. He had like 33 at halftime and they were still down like 12. And if
yeah, that was insane.
I remember correctly, he had 33 and then the next closest player had 10 points and that was CJ. And then after CJ, no one else had like more than 5 in a sense or close to that. So when that happens, there's such a scoring discrepancy in your lineup, it's like, damn, like can I get some help please? And I know CJ is a respectable all-star guard, but CJ it's like Damian Lillard is always locked in and then CJ is almost watching Dame get buckets. Like he's probably looking at him like, damn, this guy is great. Like let me stand in this corner real quick. But but like bro, like there's too many times I feel like CJ is just ball watching and watching his mans get buckets and it's like
also, also with that backcourt, they are food on defense too. Like,
yeah, the whole team is food on defense, like last in the league.
yeah,
So when you like, you can have top five scoring, but if you're not respectable on defense either, I don't know how you expect to win.
yeah,
And
and that's always gonna be. That's why I think we seen this Damian Lillard era Portland team peak when they faced Golden State in that Western
yep,
Conference Finals. That was their peak. That's it. Like as soon as they lost those defensive pieces in Harkless and Aminu and whoever else they had on that team, I can't really remember at the moment.
Batum
But
once
like,
upon a time, like
but yeah, like ever since they lost all these defensive pieces, like, and they just went all offense route, like I know Terry Stotts is gonna be the scapegoat, and he probably rightfully should be because he hasn't been. I think his voice in the locker room has kind of probably run dry a little bit because he's been there so long,
oh,
and they're
you think
probably
it's like
just
that?
like, yeah. So like, I don't know. With Portland, it's so weird to gauge this team. Well, not weird. It's just like you know what their ceiling is, but like sometimes you get fooled into thinking that it can be higher because like you'll see the way Dame will go off, and it's just like, man, Dame is really good, but like Portland is really not most of the time.
Yeah, and then
Like,
on top of that, their young players aren't that good either. Like their
yeah,
young players, I wouldn't say.
Simons
Yeah, like
and
Simons has games where he's like, you can see he's a young player. Like he gets affected by certain things, or he's just not playing to the level that he's supposed to. And then you got Nasir Little, who barely gets minutes sometimes. Like,
rightfully so.
I mean, yeah, rightfully so, but you can't. These are draft picks. These are top 15, top 20 something draft picks. So you can't like with your veteran players. Yeah, they're on the court. Yeah, they're trying to win and all that. Like Covington and them, like their collection of parts. I don't want to say it's not enough, but they're not even
It's
on the
not. It just
like
looks good on paper.
yeah, like it's like damn, like see this is why I said the last time I was on the pod with you, like Dame might just be peaked. Like he won't get to another Western Conference Finals again if he stays on this team or the team that he's on looks or is constructed the way it is. Because the way the NBA is going, you need a big man presence as well with wing defenders and then some shooting. And their big man isn't always healthy, and he sometimes gets into foul trouble. Their wing, they don't have a wing bucket or defender, if I remember correctly. They don't. And their guard matchup, they have good guard play, but one of those guards goes MIA when the other guard gets buckets. Like I don't get that.
Yeah.
You would think the tandem is vice versa. Like everything runs through. Okay, your turn, my turn, or even if it's not your turn, my turn, it's more so. All right, I play off you, you play off me. Like we're synced. Like it doesn't look like a synchronization anymore between Dame and CJ. I could be wrong, and Dame is just uber good, but I don't know, man. It doesn't feel I still think Denver can come out of this series very
Yeah.
very convincingly.
I can
But
see that.
like you said, both games have been like polar opposites in terms of what teams have done or the results you've seen. So it's hard to pick in terms of game by game because it could really go one game Denver wins, next game Portland wins. Like this can go 7 still. But I definitely got Denver still because it at the end of the day, that is an MVP candidate. And then on the other side, Dame is just he's not undermanned, but under talented, lack of talent on that squad. Because at the end of the day, with Jamal Murray having his ACL injury, there's still a lot of buckets on the Denver squad that can hurt you. So that's my take on that series. It's not that deep. Damian Lillard just has to, I wouldn't say has to realize, but he's just gonna have to go through the trenches and see what he can get. He's gonna have to realize the hard way that the loyalty with NBA teams might not be the way to go for him specifically. Like we
Yeah,
can
not with this Portland squad. They not built. They don't have the assets, or they're not legitimately built for like a way to really make this team that much better. So like they're capped at what their ceiling is at, and we may have to see a unfortunate divorce of CJ and Dame this offseason.
yeah, because CJ is just not he's not cutting it, in my opinion. I like him, but he's just you don't see the consistent production that you would see out of Damian Lillard, as at least for a guard.
Yeah, and on the Denver side, I mean Jokic, Jokic is doing Jokic things. He's averaging like in this series, he's averaging an insane amount of points. I know it's only like two. It's only two games, but he's averaging 36 points. Dame is averaging 38.
Mm-hmm.
So like it's insane on that side of the on that side of things. But yeah, I mean you got Michael Porter Jr. He's played pretty well,
Yeah, I
scoring
think he's
wise at
averaging
least.
about over 20 this series so far.
Yeah. And then you got the others. The others have consistently provided. They got a pretty decent rotation still, even without like guys like Will Barton, who's on the mend and supposed to be coming back soon. PJ Dozier, and of course
They didn't even play both of the. Well, I know Barton's injured, but they haven't. Is PJ Dozier still injured, or is he just not getting
yeah,
playing time?
yeah,
Because I
he's
know
still
he's
injured.
another bucket. That's another like. See, Denver's team is just so deep that it almost doesn't matter who they play alongside Jokic because they all can score and play off of Jokic with Jokic's passing ability. It's just not a good matchup for Dame, but Dame is known for heroics in terms of
Yeah,
scoring. Like
yeah. So
he'll take that 3-point shot and just will his team back into a game.
yep. So that's what kind of makes this series interesting, even though like you kind of know the ceiling of a Dame team. It still makes for like entertaining basketball. So there will always be that in this series. But yeah, I think I got Denver winning it because like I remember last pod I made a prediction that I could not make a prediction until I saw how these teams played. Because I thought it was that evenly matched, but like seeing how Denver is, I can easily see a way for them to win this series. Um, and let me check if there's any other series that we want to talk about. We could briefly like skim through the others. Brooklyn has dominated Boston.
Yeah, it's
That's looking
over.
like it's a sweep.
Over.
Philly is probably gonna beat Washington in a sweep. Maybe Washington gets one at home.
Yeah, I'm thinking they'll get
Um,
one at home if Russell
Russ
is
did hurt his ankle like
sadly.
twice late in that fourth quarter. And he may play through it, so there's that to look out for. And players playing on an injured whatever is never really that good. It
Especially
never
the
ends
type of
well.
especially the type of point guard he is. For him to have an ankle injury
Yeah.
is going to be hard for him to be the Russell Westbrook we know in terms of energy and output. So that's something to look at. Hopefully they get one in Washington because I know that Washington crowd definitely supports their team. But to look at the other series in the West, if we can, we saw
Utah
Donovan come back.
Memphis.
Yeah, we saw Donovan come back yesterday.
Yep. And we
He
also
looked,
saw we also saw Ja put up like almost 50.
47 to be exact. But sadly, it was not enough.
Yeah, I mean, first of all, that was a crazy high scoring game for a playoff game.
Yeah,
Um,
I never really thought that these two teams would be scoring that high. And like, first of all, I'm not gonna lie to you. What's his name? Dylan Brooks got into foul trouble very, very early in that game. Like probably within the first 3 minutes, Donovan Mitchell made him get 2 to 3 quick fouls. And
and that was an early difference maker.
yeah, like you clearly saw after that the Jazz were able to put a little bit of a deficit in between them and the Grizzlies. But what we know about the Grizzlies is that they fight. John Morant is a fighter. He ain't afraid of nobody. He took upon that challenge. Like you said, he had 47 with 7 assists, and he shot 50% from the field. Got to work on that 3-point shot, but he's not known as a 3-point shooter. So we'll take what we can get from him from the 3-point line. But just to see Donovan back healthy, he kind of showed everybody that I could have played game one, but the medics and the training staff want to be extra careful. Uh,
Yep.
but the Utah team showed us one thing last night was that they're 5 deep, like all five. Well, not even 5 deep on the starting lineup can get all double digits. They had
And then they got those 2 6 men that
yeah the
can
2 6
score
men
as
that can
well.
at least get you 15. Everybody legit had double digits. The starting five plus Ingles and Clarkson. What the Jazz showed us was what they've been doing all season. Everybody gets a touch. Everybody gets the basketball.
And they
Everybody.
shoot mad threes too.
I mean, you blame them? I can't really blame them because when Donovan Mitchell shoots 10 and makes 5, and then Conley is 3 for 5, Royce O'Neal 4 for 6, Joe Ingles 3 for 3, Clarkson had a rough night 1 for 6, but he still ended up with 18 or 16 points. Sorry, and then Gordy Niang 2 for 4. Like they only missed. They went pretty good. They shot 48% from the field from the 3-point line. So when he's shooting like that, you're not supposed to lose. So
Yeah, it makes it very hard to lose in the playoffs when you shoot that well.
especially from 3-point line. So I like how this series is gonna go. Something tells me because of course we kind of had Steph in that position, but now that Memphis
Yeah.
is there, this series I had Utah in 6, but they can definitely be on upset alert if when they go back to Memphis. I would not be surprised if Memphis wins 2 games in their home court, but of course, it all depends on what Donovan looks like. Because I don't think this team goes anywhere without Donovan. They're a tough out without Donovan. Donovan just puts them over the top,
Mm-hmm.
and we'll see what happens in Memphis. But this series can be this. It has the makings of 7 if Dylan Brooks and John Morant really impose their will on the game by just driving to the basket, up and down basketball, and being able to defend. If they can defend Donovan at a high clip or just make it hard for him, then I see the series going 7. But if they can't do that, it could be over in 6 real quick.
Yeah, defending Donovan, Dylan Brooks has to do a better job because like that's one of his main issues is that he is a great defender, but he also gets in like foul trouble really easily because sometimes he's overly aggressive and that's a detriment to him. So I think he has to be a little bit more careful and maybe they let them play more physically at home and it's the playoffs, so maybe he gets that benefit of the doubt at home with the friendly whistle, and maybe he can disrupt Donovan Mitchell and the rest of Utah's offense because with no Donovan, Dylan Brooks was able to do whatever he wanted on both sides of the ball in game 1, and that's
Yeah.
part of the reason why they fared so well in that game and won.
He didn't have to
So
expend any energy on both sides.
yeah, so like if he's able to like have that similar impact in game 3, game 3, then it's gonna be a very fun series because in
Very
game 2 he really had a good game, but he only played 28 minutes because he
of the
racked up
foul
5
trouble.
fouls.
I
So
have a
yeah,
question though. Do you think the refs were kind of giving Utah a little bit of home cooking? Because I felt like those
oh
calls in that game,
of
like I think
course,
it was a little bit. I think it was a little bit extra. Like, like damn, every call that is being, every foul being called is for Utah. Like in Utah's favor. Like I felt like that was a thing that was definitely
to be
evident in that
fair,
game too.
Memphis did take 7 more free throws than them.
Mm-hmm.
So
Okay,
maybe
all
it's the
right.
type of fouls.
Yeah, like it was the type of fouls that put them in the bonus or just like got Dylan Brooks out that game or something like that, bro. It just felt like every whistle was for Utah's favor.
Yeah, sometimes it can feel like that, especially when you like climbing back into a battle.
Mm-hmm.
If you're like fighting an uphill battle trying to get back into a game, it can feel like that. But again, we know what we're gonna get from the big 3 of Memphis with John Morant, Valanciunas, and Brooks. It's more of like, are we gonna get something extra from Triple J? I know he's just coming back from injury, and you don't want to put too much on him, but you also want to see a little bit more out of him. He did provide a solid 16 in game 2. Game 1 he had 7. So, but they didn't really need it because John Morant and Dylan Brooks did their thing. But yeah, it's gonna be this actually has a very makings of an interesting series. I know I made a bunch of jokes, especially on Twitter, about how boring this series was gonna be. I actually haven't got a chance to tune into the games that much because they've been after Knicks games, and after Knicks games, I do like some type of Knicks coverage.
Mm-hmm.
Either whether it's like Spaces on Twitter or whatever it is. But yeah, I'm usually like either too hype or too upset after the Knicks loss to really pay that much attention to the Jazz. But I do catch a decent amount of their game these last couple games just so I had some I knew what I was gonna talk about today on the pod. But yeah,
Oh
they
wow.
seem like they have no answer for John Morant. I don't know what they're gonna do with
Nah,
him.
they don't because Conley he's past his prime and defensively he's not at least what he used to be. And John Morant is very athletic. He's quick and he's also physical. Not much point guards get physical with you. Like he tried Rudy Gobert the other night. Like he tried him. Rudy Gobert got the first block, and then probably a quarter or two later, he comes back down the lane and dunks on him. Like Rudy didn't even want to jump on the second time. So
Yeah.
when your point guard is that aggressive and at least drawing fouls or trying to get his own, that's a good thing because now offense is flowing. You may or may not get calls. He's we know that Ja is gonna create something out of nothing. At least that's what we've seen the first 2 games.
Yep. So it's gonna be interesting to see Does the Utah Jazz just let Ja go off and then hope that they can contain everyone else, or do they try to do what the Knicks did and like blitz Ja, or and try to like get the ball out of his hands to make everyone else like decision makers? It's gonna be interesting to see, because like with these young point guards, if you can like, I know Ja isn't as small as Trey, so like maybe the blitzing won't work as well, but it's gonna be interesting to see what Utah does differently, because like Ja's just been having his way with them, and it's been electric, but it's like it's got to be somewhat concerning for Utah that they just can't stop this dude.
I'm not gonna lie, CP looks good though. In watching this
Yeah,
Lakers,
he does. I'm confident that the shoulder is feeling a bit better
yeah,
now.
a little extra days rest, whatever you want to call it. But he looks fluid. As of right now, the game is tied at 33 with 7 minutes in the second. But he looks good, just movement wise. So something to look at. We'll talk about that later. But CP. Hopefully, he's the regular CP, so we can get a very good series. No excuses.
Yep. Um, and I think we've covered every playoff matchup
Yeah,
to an extent.
pretty much.
Uh, yeah. As you're listening to this on Friday, today's games are going to be Knicks Hawks, the most interesting matchup of the playoffs, I think, so far. Um, and then you got, what else we got? We got Brooklyn versus um the Celtics with Kyrie's return to Boston.
Kyrie.
And and we got Clippers versus Mavericks.
All
Mavericks
up,
hoping to take
yo,
that 3-0 lead.
if they really take a 3-0 lead, son, yeah, oh my goodness, that's gonna be freaking crazy. There's no reason for
Yeah.
that, but we'll see how that goes.
We will see. As we wrap up, Ryan, let the people know where they can find you at again.
So for the personal, it's Sway Hendrix, SwayHndrxx. For the podcast, Sway Reporting Live on all platforms, Twitter, all that good stuff, Instagram, YouTube. Hopefully y'all check my stuff out.
Yup. And for me, my links are always as usual in the description. Also check out the Strickland, one of the best Knicks websites out there. Check out everything they're doing over there. I contribute somewhat to the other stuff that happens on like social media and like voice wise, but yeah, make sure you check all that out. Great people making great content over there. And if you're watching on YouTube, make sure you subscribe to the YouTube channel. Links are also in the description as well there. And that's it.